Hello and welcome back to my FPL channel. I'm FPL D Unit and today I'm here for Game Week 20 transfer tips. I'm going to be covering all the top players that are getting transferred in, getting transferred out, whether they're good moves, whether they're bad, so then you can make some decisions over the next 2 days before Saturday's deadline stream in order to get your team hopefully up to scratch. And I'm going to give you a bit of an idea about where I'm going with things for the future in terms of chip strategy. I'm going to give you a very brief overview. I'm going to do a proper in-depth video when I'm back in Australia, when I've actually got a bit of time and make some decent graphics to share with you all that explains it a little bit better than the graphic I'm literally about to show you that I put together on the run. And I'm in Manchester for an extra day because unfortunately the missus got sick. So I'm here. And as you can tell, I'm probably not feeling the best either. But here we go. So look, please give us a like out of charity. Give us a sub as well, just out of charity, if anything else. But look, let's get into top transfer tips for this week. It is one of those things that, we've got to start paying attention to the chip strategy. And this is essentially how my chip strategy is looking like at this point in time. So game week 24 and 25, and I missed this because this is how not well I am. So game week 24-25 is when we are expecting, and it's most likely going to be game week 25, which means that Liverpool will play Everton and Wolves in that single game week. Now, if it's 24, Liverpool will play Bournemouth and then Everton. Due to that delay when the storm Darrell was ever going through and it knocked the Liverpool-Everton game into this potential time, that is when I'm playing my triple captain. Now, it doesn't say it there, but that is the week I'm playing my triple captain. And look, there's no denying that almost everyone that's still got that chip available will be slamming that chip on Mo Salah in the form that he's in at the moment. He's just too good to not just play it then and get it over and done with. He's looking like he could be on track for a 30-point triple captain, 90 points. It makes the most sense to play it then. I mean, other people in the season played on other people, like some people played on the Cole Palmer 25. That was really good if you somehow managed to see that. But yeah, look, game week 24, the system manager chip also becomes available. And remember, you can't play any other chip other than the assistant manager chip while it's active, and it lasts for 3 weeks continuously. So if you played in game week 24, you couldn't play your triple captain in the game week 25 game because you'll be playing your assistant manager instead. Now, my line of thinking, I have been thinking about playing the assistant manager chip in game weeks 31 to 33 and wildcarding in 30, or depending on whether I do the bench boost in the double game week 36 or in the double game week 33 will determine when I play the assistant manager chip. So I'm not sold on that. Now, it could go one way or the other. But look, I'm just going to quickly cover it all and where I'm going. But like at this moment in time, this is how I'm thinking, how I'm going to do it in my head. So game week 29, there is a blank game week. Teams that will be affected are going to be from the Liverpool versus Tottenham game. And I'll cover this very shortly when I go over to the fixtures. So Liverpool play Tottenham in the Carabao Cup semi-finals and Arsenal play Newcastle. Now, if Arsenal and Liverpool win, as you would expect them normally to do, I actually think Newcastle have a very good chance of actually beating Arsenal, by the way, when the form they're in. Tottenham, I've got no faith in at all. So I think the Liverpool game is definitely going to be a thing. But if that happened, it'd be Chelsea, Aston Villa, Liverpool, and Arsenal players that would be not available for that game week 29. Now, lots of people have talked about dead ending and all this other hoorah and all the rest. I just don't think that's the correct option because I have Mo Salah in my team who, believe it or not, I have over 1 million tied up in team value just in him alone. I'm not going to be selling him. I'd rather just sit there and bench him and bring in other players. Now, the players that I don't have much team value in from those players at the moment. So Jackson I have quite a bit of team value in. Palmer I have quite a bit of team value in. I don't have any Aston Villa players at the moment, but I'm likely to bring in Morgan Rogers shortly. I haven't bought in Trent. And I've obviously got Allison. I've got no team value tied up in there. So these players I will actively look to move out before game week 29. So my transfers from about the end of the double game week, which will be 25, which will be game week 26 through to game week 29, I'll be focusing on getting rid of the players so I don't sit there and have a zero on my team come that thing. Now, obviously, there's lots of problems that can happen. You get injuries, suspensions, et cetera, which is why this week I'm actively looking at maybe taking a -4, maybe even a -8 to fix up part of my team that I don't like the look of, that I think will be better served if I just make it this week and just get it over and done with. So look, we'll get into that in a little bit. Game week 30 and 31 is definitely the best time to wildcard. because then you can play, well, that's why I think I'm not sure. Like if I played him 30, I feel like the assistant manager chip, I'd definitely be playing him 31 and I'd play at 31, 32, 33, get that double game week from whoever's in there and hope that one of the teams that ends up in there. The only problem is I don't like the fact that the teams that are going to be getting the double game weeks there are most likely going to be teams that aren't going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? 5 places below where they're playing. So that's why I feel like I'm going to play it later on in the season, just play my bench boost there. And then that's going to determine how many players I've got from each team. It's going to be really confusing, but when I do the proper in-depth video next week, it will make hopefully a bit more sense when I'm back in Australia because I've put a lot of thought into this. So obviously, then the bench boost assistant manager chip, it would be played in game week 33. At this likelihood, it is likely to be the bench boost for me. In terms of double game week 34, that is blanks. And there'll be a lot of teams that blank here, which is why I think this is the best place to play your free hit chip. So if you played it already, it's not a recommendation. You should definitely be holding it for game week 29, but most likely game week 34, where there'll be a lot more than just 4 teams with blanks, most likely, depending on who makes the FA Cup semis and all the rest. There's likely to be a lot more than 4 teams. Particularly if there's 8 Premier League teams, there could be like a massive blank game week there. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. Obviously, double game week 36 is very important. So that's when you would either play your bench boost or your assistant manager chip. Look, it just really depends on who's in which form, where the teams are related. I've already talked about the assistant manager chip, and I will talk about a bit more about that. But hopefully that makes a bit more sense in terms of where I'm looking to go ahead. Now, in terms of the transfer tips for this week, let's get into that bit now. Hopefully I haven't lost you of all this. So transfer tips for this week. There are a few. So best replacements for the Wolves players. Obviously, Wolves enter that horrible run of fixtures. We will look at that very briefly. Obviously, Cunha has been banned as well, which is why when I look back at my video last week and why on earth I went against all my lines of thinking and just didn't buy Chris Wood last week. I would have had an extra transfer that wouldn't have cost me a -4. I could have brought in someone else this week. Rather, I wasted my transfer, brought Cunha in, now wasting it again to get him out. Dumbest 2 transfers I've made, well, 1 transfer I've made all season long by country mile. Don't know what I was recommending last week. It was just dumb. I don't know what I was thinking. João Pedro and Jackson, is it time to go? Well, for João Pedro, I still think it is the correct time to get moving on. He has been exceptionally disappointing, and I just don't like him from a fixture perspective moving forward. But Jackson definitely was the victim of Maresca's dumbness, thinking that Ipswich are a Southampton and will just roll over and he'll be able to roll out the replacements. The fact that Jackson came on before the 60th minute suggests that Maresca realises he's got it wrong, and I don't think we're going to see it again in the Premier League this season. He's got the FA Cup coming up where he can rotate. You've got someone that I can't remember where they're from Division 2 or probably below. They'll easily can roll out the reserves for that. Jackson will be starting every week. He's 100% a hold. I'm not got any concerns about him, and he'll be staying in my team moving forward. Is it time to target Fulham and Palace players moving forward? Yes, it definitely is. It also needs to be time to start double planning for double game week 24, 25. Obviously, 2 weeks ago, I brought in Alisson to my team because obviously I wanted to triple up on Liverpool. I've now got 2 Liverpool players. I am eyeing up Trent this week in a -8 move. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Obviously, there are other players that have been suspended, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. But Jurriën Timber got suspended because he picked up his 5th yellow. Morgan Rogers has been suspended. He picked up his 5th yellow. I want to buy Morgan Rogers, probably not this week because lots of people are hopefully going to sell him. I wouldn't be selling him. He's definitely a player you want to be holding with Aston Villa's run of fixtures coming up. I also wouldn't be selling Jurriën Timber. He'll be staying on my bench. Thankfully, it means I don't have to sit there and scratch my head and hopefully get the benching right this week because he'll be sitting on the bench and now it's just a straight toss-up between Colwill and Hall. And Hall's been in such good form, there's no way I'm backing Hall not to keep get more points than Colwill this weekend. So that made my decision a lot easier. Otherwise, Hall was starting on the bench and Timber was starting. So there you go. Crystal Palace now have great fixtures and it is all systems go, as do Fulham. They are definitely recommends. You have to jump on board and get at least the defence and potentially a midfielder spot covered from those 2 teams. Probably 3 players across the 2 teams. Be looking pretty good in your team. Trent and expensive defenders could be worth the asking price, potentially, if the attacking returns keep coming, or do you just continue to bet against them in a forward-friendly season? What are the best budget options? I'm going to go into the best budget options for defenders in this video. I still am not convinced on Trent. The only problem is that Obviously, the 15 points hurt me so much, considering I left Hall's 12 on my bench. It really killed my rank. This is the worst rank week I've had all season. I went from top 23,000 to top 53. Like, I lost 30,000 places this week, mainly because of the fact that Hall sat on my bench and everyone else either was playing him or they had Trent or they had both. Yeah, wasn't a good week. So let's just put it that way. Tottenham assets, again, other than Solanke, probably not worth the risk. Having said that, though, if you do have James Maddison, he will start this week. Bentancur also picked up his 5th booking of the season, I believe, and he'll also be missing game week 20, which means that James Maddison is going to be a 100% start if that is actually the case. So I wouldn't be moving him on this week, but after this week, 100% move him on. Again, rotation risks need to be moved on. Luis Diaz, who knows if he's going to be starting, if he's going to be benched. It's really pot luck. Man United, I would consider a pretty easy team at the moment as well. It would just be interesting to see which team shows up on the weekend. Brighton assets, I still think they're a definite sell. They did not look good again, even though Aston Villa are a weird team. They play some good football, then they have a game like that, and then they lose the game, and then they win some more. They're really hard to read. They'll finish in the top half, but I don't know whereabouts. Do we have to be concerned with Chelsea's rotation problem? As I said, no, I don't. I don't think that's likely to be seen in the Premier League again. Maresca obviously came back and bit him on the arse, and I'm glad it did, just to show him that he can't get away with that nonsense moving forward. And lastly, you do need to be aware of injuries. They are happening around this time of the year. Jared Bowen fractured his foot, not broke. He fractured it, and he is going to be missing for the next few weeks, which is highly problematic. So you probably want to be moving him on moving forward. So if you're still with me, I'm now going to cover the best transfers in and out for the week. So here we go. Sorry, a little bit delayed there with the screen. Obviously, as I said, I am on holiday. I am also kind of sick. So 62 points this week, down to 53,440. Wasn't the worst. This is the first time I've scored below the average this season, I think. I think there might be one other week where I scored below the average. So look, I'll cop it. 62 points. I mean, I would have been above the average, as I said, if I had Hall on instead of Colwill. It was the last minute decision to do that, and bringing Cunha in was just a dumb move. If I bought in Chris Wood a week earlier, I would have been on a green arrow, would have been inside the top 20,000. It's just one of those things. Occasionally do it, occasionally get it wrong. I definitely got it wrong last week. So looking at the transfers in for this game week and whether they're good moves. So Chris Wood, as I said, I have moved for him. He is my one transfer this week. Cunha has left the team. Wood has come in. Now, the run of fixtures is okay for the next 6. The next 6 were pretty good. Wolves away, Liverpool at home, Southampton at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Fulham away. The defensive data is so good. And normally when Nottingham Forest score, Chris Wood's involved. So look, even the next 4 after that aren't too bad. And he's just been really consistent this season. I mean, like prior to the 12, he did have 3 weeks in a row where he hadn't returned. And that was his longest stretch all season long. And against Tottenham, barely had any XG. Same with the Villa game. Brentford, he was probably unlucky. But like when he does get chances, he generally scores. Like he scored and assisted from 0.4 expected goal involvement against an Everton team that can actually defend as well. So that's just a sign of how good the man is. He's likely also to rise to 6.8 before the deadline, which means he's also going to make me 0.1 in team value. If you've not jumped on yet, you probably need to do tonight because he's due to rise in price potentially tonight, maybe tomorrow, definitely before the deadline at this moment in time. Isaac, not a surprise he's still getting transferred in. If you don't have him now, 50% of people still don't have him. There's something wrong with you. You need to get on board. Now, Aina, for me, is not the defender from Nottingham Forest. I don't think he's 5.2 million. I just don't think, I get that he's returned really well the last few weeks, 8, 6, 15. But he's not going to be scoring every week. And I think that Forest are potentially going to concede some goals. And I wouldn't be surprised I conceded this weekend either. Now, Lewis Hall, though, on the other hand, I could see, I bought him at a 4.4. This man has made me so much team value. It's insane. He is probably going to rise again. He's in such a great run of form. This week against Tottenham are obviously going to pose a threat down the other end and he may concede. But attacking-wise, he's just looking so good. He looks nailed on that place. The next 4 weeks after this week look absolutely amazing. And Newcastle are in such great form. I think he'll be staying in the team for the season. Like, that's how good Newcastle and him are. They've got no European football. Don't have to worry about rotating the squad. He's all systems go. Now, I'm surprised lots of people bring Luis Diaz in. This is like, if it goes back to the form of the like most of the season, he's going to be on the bench against Man United. So I'm not sure why you're buying him. For me, he's an avoid. You don't know if he's going to be starting. You don't know if he's going to be benched. That's a no-go for me. Now, Trent Alexander-Arnold, he is someone I'm looking at. I mean, it's annoying that he's up to 7.2, which is why I'm actively thinking about it. I mean, if we look at the last Since he came back into the team, which was the game week 13, obviously returned defensively, returns two attacking returns against Newcastle. Since he came back in, he's had 4 attacking returns in 7 weeks. 6 weeks. I do him a disservice, which is absolutely amazing. He definitely has the best defensive data in the league. He has Man United up next, which makes me think it's going to be a clean sheet. Like, I just can't see United going to Anfield and scoring. That's just my personal opinion. Unless there's a catastrophic error and Liverpool give us a goal. It's not going to happen, which means that Forest away, I don't think he's going to keep a clean sheet there, and I'll be very struggling to see him performing there. Brentford away, Brentford do score goals, but then it's just beautiful run of fixtures from there. Obviously, the double game weeks in 24-25, if Trent stays fit, he's 100% coming into the team. It's just a matter of which week I bring him in. I'm just not sure that I want to do it before game week 22. I think that's ideally the spot where I want to bring him in. Sorry, not game week 22, game week 23 against Ipswich. That's where I really want him. The next 3 weeks, I don't know if I really want him and investing 7.2 million there. That's just my personal opinion. Still a great option. Anthony Gordon, ditto. He looks amazing. Maybe not this week. I think Spurs away might be a little bit more difficult, but then the run of fixtures after that looks amazing. He will definitely become the triple up in my team. And I'll talk about where I'm thinking of going. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact it's either Phil Foden to Gordon or Phil Foden to Eze, those are the 2 transfers I'm most looking at. Now, if you're on wildcard and you're bringing in a cheap goalkeeper, you can't go wrong with Sells. The defensive data from Nottingham Forest is amazing. Now, lots of people are moving towards Gapco. And look, he is starting every single week. The only problem is that he generally averages between 60 and 70 minutes. And that's concerning because he has to get it done. And he has been getting it done, in fairness to him. Of the last 6 weeks, he's returned 3 times. Well, 4 times in those 6 weeks. So he's only blanked in the Tottenham game and the Newcastle game. His XG's okay, like per 90, 0.32 expected goals, 0.18 expected assists. It's just the minutes that are a problem. And once Jota gets fit, I feel like Jota will start. I feel like Jota's the better player out of him, Diaz, Darwin, and Gapco. So that's just my personal read. Having watched Liverpool play, I just think that that's what it is. Raul Jimenez, if you're after a budget option, I think he's going to be starting. And with the next run of fixtures, you would back him in to score a few goals against Ipswich, West Ham, and Leicester. So if you're after a cheap option, moving from João Pedro, don't want to pay up for anyone else, Raul Jimenez is definitely the pick for the next few weeks. And Buemo, he does play 90 minutes every week. Obviously scored against Arsenal. It was a very low XG chance, to be fair. I thought David Raya was kind of napping, but you are faced with Southampton straight up away, and they do concede goals, and you would expect Brian Buemo to return here with probably a pretty big haul. But then the next 4 weeks after that, I don't really like. Man City, Liverpool, and Spurs all at home. Crystal Palace away. It's not an easy run of fixtures. I'm much preferring from game week 25 onwards, but that's just my personal preference. I'm unlikely to go back there, not at that price. I think Gordon's a better pick, even though he's not on penalties. And I also think that Eze is also a better pick, even though he's also probably not on penalties as well. Robinson's definitely the pick of the Fulham defenders. I can see why he's getting expensive now at 5 mil. So Castagne's obviously 4.2. If you are chasing budget, Castagne's probably the pick. They're both playing wing backs. They're both going to be attacking. And if they keep with a 5-man system, they're definitely going to both be locks. Robinson's definitely nailed on. Castagne probably less so. Now, Ollie Watkins, back of a goal and assist, back in the starting lineup, played 90 minutes. Duran's obviously out for the next 2 at least. So that's the Leicester game and then the FA Cup game. In theory, he could come back in for the Everton game. I just think that if Ollie Watkins nails it the next couple of weeks as a short-term punt, I really like him. He is someone that I actively included in the wildcard draft this week. He's really good moving forward. Don't mind it at all. Morgan Rogers is a hold. Don't be selling him. After this week, he's obviously missing the Leicester game, which is painful. Everton and Arsenal aren't the best, but then he's got West Ham, Wolves, Ipswich. You'd want him back in for that. So I think you just hold him. It's not worth selling at a loss, especially if you bought him at 5.4. Just hold him, or even 5.3. I don't think I'll be selling him because you want to bring him back anyway. Morgan Gibbs-White is probably the best option from Nottingham Forest. Up to 6.4 now, has risen this week. But that's because of the fact the last 5 weeks, he's returned in 4 of the last 5 weeks. And he's looking good. Back in the lineup. Even Anthony Elanga at 5.1 now, I think he's gone down to. He's really good as well. Murphy, ditto, still really good. Milinkovic is probably the pick of their defenders. I really like him. It's hard not to recommend a Forest defender. They just keep so many clean sheets. I mean, look at that. 6-0, 7-9, 6-6-6. Just fantastic stuff. Like, that's what you want from a 4.7 million rated defender. Gabriel, yes, I can see why people bring him, particularly if you've got Timber and you want to move on to a better Arsenal defender. I could recommend that. I still think keeping Timber's the player, though. Timber will come straight back to that team. You don't have to worry about him get suspended again now either. And he also gets a rest, which is quite nice. Gabriel Jesus, he did score again and assisted again. He got 12 points against Brentford. So that's 28, 30 points in his last 3 weeks. I don't know, man. I don't really rate him, which is why I'm not recommending him. But he'll probably score again this week. He'll probably score against Spurs. It's not a bad run. If you want to take a punt on someone, he's a good pick. But for me, it's not for me. Cunha, again, I think he is a sell. I obviously talked about bringing him in last week and then holding him depending on when his ban came. But he obviously only played 45 minutes. He came off of an injury. He's definitely banned for the Forest game. Then it's Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, Liverpool. The next 5 weeks don't look good. If you can hold him through there, the run of fixtures does open back up. But I think for me, he's got to be a sell. Kulusevski's still probably the best pick from Tottenham to buy in the midfield. In front of Johnson, Aït-Nouri, I think is definitely a sell. Pickford's all right. And Wissa is still a fairly decent option. Now, if we go to the transfers out, I'm going to cover this really quickly. So Cunha, definitely being sold. Jackson, I'm not sure why people are selling him. Now, as I said, he has been a rotation risk. He has been disappointing the last 3 weeks in general. But the run of fixtures is still pretty good. Crystal Palace away, they're okay at defending, but they do concede chances. Bournemouth will concede chances. Wolves will concede chances. City definitely concede chances. West Ham definitely concede chances. Like, the run of fixtures is still pretty good up until about game week 29. So for me, he's not going anywhere. I still think he's one of the best forwards in the game to own. I'm not sure why people are selling him. Didu, Rogers, you should be holding him. Maddison, 100% sell. Even though I'd be keeping him this week. Bentancur's definitely suspended. He'll definitely start. But then against Arsenal, I'll be moving him out. I wouldn't be bringing him back. Too much of a rotation risk. You can't be having them in your team. Man United players, yes. Outside of Bruno Fernandes, I think they are a sell. I've obviously got the double up on my team. Amad is concerning me. That is who I want Morgan Rogers to go to. But there's no point moving him this week because I'm just limiting myself to 1 less on the bench. And you never know. They could surprise us. You never know. 2025 is a new year. Man United haven't lost in 2025 yet. It could turn around. João Pedro, yep. Can see why he's a sell. Fabianski should be back in goal fairly soonish. So we just need to wait for some injury update there. Pedro Porro, again, I can understand why people are selling him. Tottenham just don't keep clean sheets. Enzo, I'd probably hold. Chelsea's run is still pretty good from here. Bruno Fernandes, again, if you're going to sell him, you should have sold him last week. For me, it's a hold. You deal with the Liverpool game. I'm going to be playing him regardless. You never know. If they get a penalty, he's on it. He'll get a return. Then the next 4 weeks, Southampton home, Brighton home, Fulham away, Crystal Palace at home, still look really good. So for me, he's a hold. I know a lot of people are moving him on, trying to free up budget to get Trent in. For me, that's Foden in my team, and I don't have to sell Fernandes. I think of the 2 of them, Fernandes is going to play 90 minutes most weeks unless he gets himself sent off. Yeah. Lots of people selling Virgil as well, probably just to fund the Trent move. Don't mind it. But again, I just don't think Trent's going to be delivering every week. That's just my personal opinion, which is why Trent probably won't come in for me this week. And then obviously in Mbeumo, lots of people still selling Mbeumo, even though he's just returned. I think he's definitely a hold at this point as well. Wissa's a hold. Duran, you've got 1 more game to get through. So, but like, lots of people are just yo-yoing between like players each week. Lots of people selling Palmer. 52,000 selling Palmer. Few people jumping off. Yeah. Look, there's not many other people in there that I think you should be selling. Ismaila Sarr, obviously, maybe some people correcting and going to Eze. I actually think Eze should be being bought by more people. I also think Martinelli should be being bought by more people as well. I thought Martinelli was actually pretty good for Arsenal today. Odegaard, unfortunately, has all the assist of the assists, which is frustrating for him. I don't think he's going to rise anymore. I wouldn't be going there. And I think that's about it. So moving ahead to my own team for this week. So transfers. In here, what are we looking at? So, yeah. I'm not sure. As I said, I've obviously made the transfer. Cunha has left. Chris Wood has come in. I bought him at 6.6. Hopefully he does rise to 6.8. It leaves me 0.6 in the bank. Now, part of me is like, I could bring in Munoz this week, but I'm not bringing him in. He's only bringing in for bench cover. The problem is like, I either don't make a transfer this week and I make 3 next week, which would give me -8. And then it'd probably be like a Phil Foden down to, I'm thinking potentially this might actually become Gordon instead of Eze. I'm not 100% sold. Obviously, I haven't got the budget, so it actually does have to be Eze. So this one here would be Eze. 6.6. That gives you 3.1. Then I can move Colwill or Kerkez out. It doesn't really matter at this point. That would become, Alexander-Arnold. Where is he? There he is. That leaves you with 0.4 in the bank. And then I could then, ideally, this would become Munoz. And then I'd be pretty happy with my defense moving forward. That leaves you with 0.2 in the bank. And then obviously Amad could then become Rogers. And it might be that Rogers waits. Whoops. It could be that Rogers waits until after the Arsenal game. Because realistically, I don't think Aston Villa are going to do very well in game week 22. He's obviously out this week for game week 20. Next week, if I have to take a -8, I take a -8. And then obviously I've got the Everton game. I just think that potentially that could be the move. It might even be that Trent doesn't come in for next week. I mean, the Nottingham Forest game is not going to be easy. Neither is the Brentford game. Maybe Trent waits and I just bring in the Munoz pick. Like, I think next week I definitely have to make probably 2 transfers. And it'll probably be Munoz. If any of these players look like they're going to be rising in price prior to this deadline, I'm probably bringing them in. Because I just really like the Munoz run from Leicester 21 onwards through to 29. He looks amazing. And he definitely fixes that spot. And Kerkez, as I just said here, sort of becomes a little bit more of a problem. Now, Colwill's just done nothing for me in my team other than keep the odd clean sheet. So I'm not really too fussed on him. Obviously, the fixtures run out after this week as well for Everton. Like, they've got Chelsea away, Newcastle away. I expect them to concede. So in reality, Kerkez, this is his last time to shine in my team this week. But yeah, that's my team. That's what I'm looking ahead to do. I'm just not sure what it looks like post this week. So yeah, I don't know. I could potentially make a move this week, take a -4 and bring in one of these players. The only problem is I think I really want to play the team as it is. Amad obviously starts on the bench this week. Timber starts on the bench. So does Colwill. And then everyone else starts. So Kerkez starts, Robinson starts, Hall starts. The bench is pretty weak this week, but I'm happy to roll it. So yeah, let me know if there's anything that you think I should be looking at in terms of team value. Are there any players that you wanted covered that I haven't covered? Let me know. I will cover them in the deadline stream, and hopefully I'll join you then. Hopefully you give us a like for persevering through my voice through to the end of this video, and please smash the sub button if you haven't already. That would definitely help me out. Thanks for joining me for Game Week 20 transfer tips. Hopefully it's a green arrow in a couple of days' time. Thanks for watching. That's been the D Unit.